Welcome to this tutorial on file management for your very first project. So what we're going to do is make sure that we know where we're putting our files. You'll have pictures that you took on your SD card, so you're going to grab your SD card out of your camera. You're going to face the label up. You're going to go to the back right-hand side of your computer, and there's an SD card slot. Please be careful when you're putting the card in and out of both the camera and the SD card slot in the computer. The plastic teeth on the card tend to break. So once you do that, you'll see it on the desktop. If we click on the Finder, which is the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you're also going to see it there in the locations. Inside of there, you'll have a DCIM folder. Inside the DCIM folder, you have, depending on if you shot multiple cameras, so it looks like we shot on a 3300 and a 3200 Nikon. It doesn't look like there's anything on the 3200 side, but there is on the 3300 side. There's some JPEG files and some NEF files on this card. The NEF file is the raw format, and it depends on how you had your camera set up. That wasn't, I don't believe I talked about it in the first tutorial, but in all future projects, I think what I'm going to have you guys set up is shoot both RAW and JPEG. It gives you the option to use either or. I like to have NEF files because they have more data and you get better processing when you pull it into Photoshop. So maybe we'll just even shoot just NEF files. But for this tutorial, what we just want to show is that you have your card in, you can see it. If you don't see it, you might have to try reinserting the card. And then we're going to put files into folders in your H drive. So if you don't have your H drive on your desktop, it'll be your student ID number. You have to click this little icon down at the bottom. It's like a world. It's like network home. If you click on that, this thing will come up. Since it's already connected, there was no further pop-ups, but it sometimes says, you sure you want to connect? You connect, and then it should end up on your desktop or come up with a window that looks like this. So I'm on an H drive right now, and I'm going to make a folder. So there's a couple different ways you can make a folder. You can use the sprocket menu, new folder. You can use the file menu, new folder. And Command-Shift, so that's the Command key, that's the Shift key, and the letter N. I like key commands, so Command-Shift-N is a new folder. It's already editable, so if it's blue, you're able to edit. If it's not blue, you're not able to edit. If you need to edit something, you can single-click and single-click a second time. Make sure you pause in between those two. People go clickety-clickety-click, and then they get all frustrated, but it's a single-click, pause, single-click, then you can edit. All right, the first thing I want you to do is make a root folder. So the root is here at the very top of your H drive. And if you have no folders in there, then it'll be the very first folder. So what we're going to do is we're going to name this Photo 1. No spaces. So we never want you to put spaces or weird slashes or any kind of like odd characters. The only things that we can use for like spacing out words are underscores. You can use dashes. And for what I typically do if I had like a multi-word type of folder, I would say Photo 1 or something like that, where I would capitalize each new word. But for this instance, we're just going to call it Photo 1, no spaces. Spaces tend to, and odd characters tend to screw things up when you're copying files from one place to another, like one drive to another, or especially when you get into like web design. So a lot of times people use images on websites. So don't put spaces or odd characters. All right, so here's Photo 1, and then we're going to make another folder in here. So you're going to use this folder for all your photo projects for the year. And every new project, you're going to make a new folder. So Command-Shift-N, new folder. And we're going to call this what it was. So this was FillTheFrameDSLR. Note how I'm naming the folder, something like that. And then I would double-click into this folder. And now I'm going to pull all my files from here. If you don't have this folder open, you can double-click your drive, and it should pop open. Should pop open. Maybe it already is open. If you wanted them in separate panes, you can drag it out. So now we have this DCIM folder, and we're going to go into the subfolder here, and we're going to grab all of our images. So I can Command-A, select all, and copy them. Command-C, copy them, and then go over to my other folder, Command-V, paste, and now I'm moving all my files from the card to my network drive. And it may take some time because it's traveling across the network. It's using the blue cable in the back of the machine. And I'm not even sure where the hard drive is. It might be at Cherokee. It might be in this building somewhere. But it's copying a pretty good amount of information. It's like a third of a gig, 330 megabytes. So we'll wait till that finishes, and then you can pull the card after it finishes. So once you've transferred all of your files off of your card, This is something that we do frequently. Sometimes students won't do this, and then their card will fill up eventually. But you can go ahead and format the card in the camera. And when you format a card in the camera, it's going to erase the all of the images that are on the card. So you may want to do that by project or like every once in a while, especially if you know you're going to go out and you're going to shoot RAW because RAW files are big, and especially if you know you're going to be shooting a lot of pictures. You may want to often format your card in the camera. All right, so at this point, I think we're ready to go. I can then eject the card. So to eject the card, you click on the arrow next to it, or you can drag it into the trash can. So if I drag it into the trash can, let's see if it'll eject. It's thinking about it. Yeah, there's the system still thinking about it. There we go. So now it's off the desktop. You can go ahead and pull it out of the back of the computer. And now you have your files on your H drive ready for Photoshop or submission or whatever you're going to do with them. Just a quick bit about the Finder. We have an icon view. It's all this icon set here. We have a list view. I like using the list view. It's you could sort by alphabet. You could sort by date modified. So like when you last touched on the file or when the older the files are. And then they have this pane view, so multi-pane, so you can kind of see where it is. So we have a file on your H drive in a folder called Photo 1, in another folder called Fill the Frame, and then there's all the files. And then they have this kind of like, I forget what it's called. It's good for previewing files, kind of challenging when the files don't load like this right now because it's being referenced across the network. That's why this is taking so long, and it's probably a huge file. So there's Jordan, and then NEF files will probably load even slower because they're even bigger files. And I think that's where I'm going to leave this tutorial. Thanks, guys.